Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing yet another movie review. This movie is a thriller from the United States, English language, released in the year 2002, directed by Neil Berger, and this film is called Interview with the Assassin. So Interview with the Assassin is about a man who's recently been let go from his production company. He's down and out. His wife is telling him to get another job because their outlook is not very bright. But then one day there is a lifeline that's been thrown to him, and that lifeline comes in the form of a stranger. This stranger contacts him. Now this stranger believes that this main character works in the media, and this stranger has a story to tell that has been weighing on him for the longest time. And he wants to tell this guy now because he's dying of terminal cancer and he wants the world to know. And what he wants the world to know concerns the assassination of JFK. Now there's a conspiracy theory that there was more than one gunman, and this man says that he has the evidence to prove that he was that gunman. And so initially this main character believes he's just a crazy guy with a conspiracy theory, but he wants to make a documentary about him, and that hopefully this is getting him attention, the main character attention, to get his life back on track. And so when they meet up, there's a very awkward exchange, but that awkward exchange starts to turn into trust. And this is where this stranger starts to detail the events on that fateful day. And these details actually start to convince this guy, but maybe he's more than just a psycho. But then after a while, that overwhelming sense of paranoia starts to creep in, that there's an outside influence that wants to prevent the truth from coming out. So whether or not it is in fact illusion or reality is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Interview with the Assassin. I'm a fan of conspiracy theories. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I believe that they're a lot of fun. They are quite dangerous, but if you are not easily led, then they can actually be quite interesting. So the whole idea of a conspiracy theory is a lot of grey matter, is that there is enough evidence to actually reinforce that particular idea. And so without grey matter, you have fact. And so it's no longer a theory. And this is ultimately where a lot of these conspiracy theory films shoot themselves in the foot, is that they start off very well, and that sense of ambiguity creates a lot of suspense, a lot of scare factor, but the viewer wants closure, the viewer wants clarity, and those two things completely destroy a theory. And so a lot of these films, they start off great, but then they just finish really badly, and they leave a very sour taste in the mouth. And so that was the expectation coming into Interview with the Assassin. I thought, all right, well, I hadn't heard of this film. Maybe I hadn't heard of it for a very good reason, as it wasn't that good. But it was a mockumentary style of movie, a found footage film, so I'm a massive fan of that. And I thought the JFK conspiracy theory was very, very interesting. So I saw this in a second-hand DVD shop here in Canberra, Australia, so I thought, why not give it a shot? Hopefully it was going to be something that I wasn't expecting. And after watching the film, I am surprised that no one talks about this, because it's one of the scariest found footage films since the Blair Witch Project. And the scare factor in this movie comes from the sheer subtleties of coincidences. Now, the coincidences in this film reshape how we actually look at everyday life. Whether it's a man walking his dog. When we get an idea in our mind, all of a sudden that man walking his dog could be a government agent that's following us. And so we start to mould that idea that the world is something completely different, and it's the conspiracy theory that's moulding that idea. And this is what this film does so brilliantly well, is it doesn't need gore, it doesn't need jump scares. It sets itself in a strong sense of realism, because the overall idea of the film is forming our mind, and that mind is starting to play tricks on us. And when the mind plays tricks on us, we don't know where to go. Is this guy insane? There's enough evidence to suggest that he is insane, but there's also enough evidence to suggest that he's actually quite sane, and he is in fact a gunman. And so the details start to mount up in a way where you don't know where to go, and all of a sudden we have a different perspective of the world, and that different perspective actually starts to creep up on you, and it sends the hairs on the back of your neck right up. And so I thought it was a masterful exercise in what makes a really realistic horror film set in a world that is besieged by conspiracy theories. You know, some people believe that coronavirus is a method for government control. Now, to me, that is a crackpot theory, but there is evidence to suggest maybe that could be true. And this film it preys upon that vulnerability of the unknown. And at the end of the film, I thought, all right, well, again, it shot itself in the foot. It kind of tied up loose ends, but then there was a scene after I actually thought it would finish that really threw the cat amongst the pigeons, and that was a very scary disclaimer that the film had. Just a little bit of writing to really send a shiver up your spine, because it keeps that level of ambiguity. It keeps that grey matter. It's never really put into fact. It's always left up there. And so was, what happens in this film, is it something sinister, or in fact, was it a case of sheer paranoia? So I thought the acting was absolutely fantastic. Raymond J. Barry was fantastic as this stranger. He had a lot of charm about him, but also that slightly unhinged presence. So all the characters have that sense of ambiguity, and the level of coincidence in this film I thought was riveting. Whether it's a man who was waiting in his car for quite a long time. Was he waiting in his car because he was spying on these people? Or in fact, was he waiting for someone? Was he just an everyday person just waiting to pick up his loved one? And so it's that everyday aspect of this film is moulded in a way where you can't really trust yourself. You can't trust what is actually going on, and what you're seeing, you don't know whether it's paranoia or in fact reality. And this is where the movie really kicks into gear as far as horror is concerned. So it has no soundtrack. It doesn't dictate when you should be feeling scared. It just shows its confidence in actually telling a story in a very subtle way. But as I said, it's that sheer level of paranoia that a conspiracy theory will actually create that really executes its moments very, very well. So if you are a fan of mockumentary style of film, this is definitely for you. If you're not a fan of it, I definitely believe this has enough creativity to really win you over. So if you like the sound of this film, I definitely highly recommend it. It's one of the better mockumentaries out there. I'm going to give this film 4 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.